Alright guys, going to solving equations. We're going to jump into the first one first. And what we're going to do is expand each of the brackets. So remembering when we expand brackets, that number on the outside times is by everything on the inside. So we'll have 3 times d, which is 3d, 3 times 7, which is 21, minus 2 times d, and then minus 2 times minus 9. After that, what we want to do is get rid of the pronumeral on one side. Now I like getting rid of the smallest one just because I do. It doesn't particularly matter. It's just I find it easier that we avoid having negatives that way. So getting rid of a minus 2d means we plussed it. We now have 5d. We're going to do what we normally do with a two-step equation, get rid of the 21. 5d is then going to equal minus 3. 18 minus 21 being minus 3. Divide both sides by 5 and we have d on its own, and we're going to end up with a fraction for our answer, which is negative 3/5. Now doing the exact same thing for all of the rest of the ones in this section. So question 21, all of them, we've got a bunch of brackets. We're going to expand all of our brackets. If necessary, collect like terms. So you'll notice in B, you've got a +1 at the back that isn't part of the bracket, so you need to add him later. So we had 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 will give us a 9 on that side. So while we're there, we're going to get rid of our 3r, because it was the smaller of our two with our pronumerals. So it's a plus 3r, we're going to minus 3r, 4r minus 3r is r. And 8 plus 1 is 9. And then we've got negative 9. So minusing 9 from both sides. Remember, when you minus from a minus, you just end up with another minus. So we end up with r is negative 18. Going on to C, same thing. Brackets are both on the same side this time, so we just need to expand them both and then collect all of our like terms. Our first one, we've got 3 times 5x gives us 15x. 3 times minus 1 is minus 3. Minus 6x, and then our plus 30, because we've got two negative numbers timesing together there. Collect our like terms. So our like terms are the ones with the same pronumerals. We've got 15x and minus 6x. 15 minus 6 is 9. And we've got minus 3 plus 30, which will give us, of course, 27. Then we're back to just our normal two-step equation and get rid of the number that doesn't have the pronumeral. And then get rid of the number next to the pronumeral. So finally dividing by 9. Going to end up with a fraction here again, leaving it as an improper fraction or as a mixed numeral. If you really want to do anything else, just check what the question's asking. This one isn't asking for a specific amount of decimal places, so just a fraction is fine for your answers here. Looking over to D, same thing again, two sets of brackets both on the left hand side of the equation. Expand them both out, collect our like terms, continue on from there. The big thing to be careful about here is when you're timesing by negatives, make sure you end up with negatives in the right places. Bringing together all of our stuff, so that was a 12a minus a 2a, because that minus is in front of the 2a. Minus 30 minus 6 gives us minus 36. Back to a two-step equation now, adding the 36 to get rid of it, which will give us 10a equals 56, and then we're going to be dividing by that 10 in order to end up with our answer. Now this is a pretty easy one to chuck into as a decimal, because dividing by 10 is not particularly hard, and we're also going to end up with a pretty easy decimal. Now last one up for 21, we've got E and F. E, again, both sets of brackets on the left hand side. Now if there's just a negative in front, that is of course negative 1. So 4 times 4m is 16, 4 times 1 is 4, minus m, and then a plus 5 because we had negative negative. Collecting our like terms, and then we should end up with a two-step equation again. So 16m minus m is 15m, 4 plus 5 is 9, and everything equals 3. So get rid of the 9 first. And 3 minus 9 is, of course, minus 6. Now we're going to get rid of our 15. And again, ending up with a fraction for our answer. M equals minus 6 on 15. Next one over, we've got brackets on both sides of our equation again. And just going to expand those ones out. So we'll have 3y minus 6 on the left, and then on the right, nothing's happening to the 10 yet. We'll have 10 minus 6y plus 2. We'll need to collect those like terms a little bit later. Now, the minus 6 is smaller than the 3, so I'm going to add 6 to both sides just to get rid of the y's on one of the sides of the equation. We'll end up with 9y minus 6 equals 12. 10 plus 2 is, of course, 12. Back to our two-step equation, adding the 6 over, 9y equals 18, and then dividing by 9. And we should end up with our y equals 2. Alright, so the last one's from 3C is question 22. So a little bit more difficult questions. Again, we've got pronumerals on both sides for some of these. First thing we're going to do is get rid of that nasty 3 at the bottom. And we do that by timesing everything by 3. So remember, that means everything is getting times by 3. Gives us a plus 2 left over on the left. And the right would be 9a minus 12. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times minus 4 is minus 12. Back to like we used to, we're getting rid of the a's from one side. So we took them away. We end up with 2 equals 8a minus 12. Add the 12 over. We're back to a normal two-step equation at this point. We have 14 equals 8a. Divide by 8. Find a. Ending up with a fraction here. This is one that we can simplify a little bit because we've got two even numbers. So we're just going to end up with a equals 14 over 8, which would be 7 over 4, halving the 14 and the 8. B, same thing again. One of the sides has everything on top of a fraction, so we're going to times everything by that 2 just to get rid of that nasty fraction. So 2m minus 5 equals m plus 1 on 2, times everything by 2. So that means everything on the left-hand side gets times by 2. So end up with 4m minus 10 equals m plus 1. Back to the type of equation we had with the pronumerals on both sides. We're just going to get rid of the m's. We end up with 3m minus 10 equals 1. And we're back to a normal two-step equation again. So get rid of that minus 10. And then get rid of the 3. So we end up with m equals 11 on 3. Next one over, we've got a nasty fraction, but we've got other stuff left on that side with it. So what we're going to do is take everything else to the right-hand side of the equation so that we can get rid of that nasty fraction pretty easily. Which means I'm going to add the y minus 1 to the right-hand side. We're going to end up with y plus 1 on 4 equals 2 plus y minus 1. Now that we've done that, we'll be able to times everything by 4 in order to work out our answer a little bit better. Now you'll see on the right we have the 2 and the minus 1, which are like terms, so 2 minus 1 is of course 1. End up with y plus 1 on one side, and then 4 plus 4y on the other. Back to the place where we want to get the pronumerals onto one side, so we're getting rid of one of the y's from both sides. We end up with 1 equals 4 plus 3y. Get rid of the 4 from both sides, and we end up with minus 3 equals 3y. Of course, 1 minus 4 is minus 3. Dividing both sides by 3 after that, and we should end up with y equals minus 1. And there we go. So here we've got a fraction on both sides. We're going to end up timesing by both the numbers at the bottom, but first we're just going to start with one of them. So let's get rid of that 2 at the bottom by timesing both sides by 2. Which means it cancels out on the right, and on the left we end up with 2b plus 10 over 3 equals b plus 8. Now we're going to get rid of the one on the left-hand side by timesing by 3. So we end up with 2b plus 10 equals 3b plus 24. Now we're back to one of those equations we're a little bit more used to doing, so we're going to get rid of our pronumerals from one side, so we've only got them on the one. We've got 10 equals b plus 24. Now, pretty easy, back to a one-step equation, minusing our 24s, and we end up with minus 14 is b. Now, next one over, doing the exact same thing, we're going to just make it a little bit more slimline. We've noticed that we times by everything by both numbers at the bottom eventually, so we're just going to jump straight to it and just go 5 over there, 2 over there. So it'll be 2 outside the brackets, 3x plus 2, and 5 outside the brackets, 2x plus 4, which gives us 6x plus 4 equals 10x plus 20. Which now means we need to get rid of pronumerals from one of the sides. We're going to get rid of the 6x on both sides, which gives us 4 equals 10 minus 6 is of course 4x plus 20. Now we're back to a two-step equation. Get rid of the 20 from both sides. 4 minus 20 is minus 16. So you have minus 16 equals 4x. Getting rid of the 4, we're just going to divide by 4. So divide by 4, divide by 4. Minus 16 divided by 4 is minus 4. And that's what x equals. And over to f. Again, two fractions on either side of the equal sign. So we're going to do the cross multiplication again. So we're going to take the 5 from the left and put it to the right. And the 3 from the right and put it to the left. Make sure to put the right letter down, it's usually useful. Alright, so taking them over, and we end up with 3 into 4c minus 2 equals 5 into 2c plus 1. That's 12c minus 6 equals 10c plus 5. Now we're going to get rid of the pronumeral from one side, going to the lower number again, there's the 10, minusing 10c's from both sides, we end up with 2c minus 6 equals 5. My minus 6. Alrighty. Now we can get rid of that minus 6 by adding 6 to both sides. So 2c is going to equal 11. 5 plus 6 is equals 11. And the last thing we need to do is divide by 2 on both sides. So c is going to equal 5.5. Alright, going to go through the next ones a little bit quicker. Doing the same thing, but we need to get rid of our fraction from one side. Now, there's a few different ways we can do this. We're just going to minus it from both sides so that we can then times everything by 6. Get rid of the bottom bit there, and then move back over and times everything by 6 and get the bottom bit there. Your other option is to chuck both of your fractions into a calculator and work out what 1/6 plus a half is, and then use those coefficients on the outside of the brackets for the n plus 1, depending on how good you are with your fractions for that one. It wasn't particularly difficult because we were able to get our 6 divided by 2 gross down to 3 pretty fast there. Other than that, it's all the normal steps that we get. We're getting our pronumerals onto one side, then we're getting rid of the number that doesn't have a pronumeral next to it, and then working on our variable. So we're going to go through the same process here. We're going to add it over to the right hand side to get rid of it. And then we're going to expand out our brackets. I'm going to move that 9 over to the left so that we can do the same thing again to get rid of the other number at the bottom of the fraction, because this one didn't work out as well for us. Which gives us 2k plus 26 equals 6k minus 9. Now that's an equation that we are a lot more comfortable with, and we can just get rid of our pronumerals from one of the sides and then continue on as a normal two-step equation. And last one up, doing the same thing again. Going to chuck it over to the second part over to the right hand side and do one fractions bottom and then do the next one. You can cross multiply all on the one side if you want, but then you need to times the right hand side by everything that you times in on the left hand side. It's possible, it just comes down to how good you are with keeping track of everything that's going on. Getting rid of that 4 now by timesing everything by 4. 12p minus 68 equals 10p plus 5. Getting rid of that 10p. And then getting rid of the 68. And then of course at the very end we're going to be dividing by 2 to get our final answer. And we're done.